Hi, I'm a squirrel and I have too many problems, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to work on one of my crochet projects and talk about some myths about tarot. And I have a bunch of books to help us do some research and dispel those myths. Again, we have our co-host Jackson. He will be popping in and out and adding his very valuable commentary. Mostly the commentary that he needs snacks, because he's a needy boy. Okay, let me get my notes up on my phone because I took a bunch of notes. So for these myths, some of them I knew, and some of them I just honestly I googled on the internet to find like common ones that I kind of forgot about. And the project that I'm working on is my corner to corner striped blanket that I was making in my countdown to Halloween. 5mm hook from Nerdy Bird Co. And I'm also doing this in half double crochet because I forgot how to do a double crochet when I started it, so it's all on a half double, which is fine. I have seen some other, because I did Google can I make a, I was halfway through the project and I realized I was doing it in half double crochet, and so then I Googled can you do a corner to corner stitch in half double crochet, even though obviously you can, half of it was already done, and the internet was yeah, you're good, it's just a different look. But that does explain why when I was trying to follow the Fiber Frights blanket pattern, why it wasn't coming out right. It's because, well, Jackson, no eating the yarn, thank you. Insightful commentary, that is what you're here for. Not chomping on my yarn. Anyway, so it's most of the way done this project, or through this project, and I realized I was doing half double crochet, and then I freaked out. But that does explain, like I said, why the color chart wasn't working, because it was for pixel stitches and double crochet and not half double crochet. So here we are. We're chugging along. We're getting through. So my first myth. That tarot is evil or dangerous or a gateway to the devil, or you can summon demons and terrible things into your life by using tarot cards. That is nonsense. Particularly, this is Hollywood nonsense. Because what a tarot deck is, and I have one here, Paw of Light deck. So at the end of the day, a tarot deck is pieces of paper. Pieces of paper with pictures on them, and it is no more dangerous than any other deck of playing cards. Although I will say the people that usually come up with this are also the people who think that playing cards are dangerous and will steal your soul. So you can't reason with those people. But if you, I won't say normal person, but if you don't have that that very deeply ingrained idea that playing cards are going to steal your soul, tarot cards are not going to steal your soul at all. They're fine. And I did find an article called Tarot Cards Aren't Demonic, You Just Watch Too Many Hollywood Movies, by Cameron Brooke. And she writes, tarot cards are not related to demonic things, and while one of the cards literally has the devil on it, they are completely materialistic, impersonal objects. And anyone who claims otherwise is just likely intimidated by spirituality. Tarot cards simply serve as a gateway into spirituality and a deeper understanding of yourself, but most often the benefits of tarot cards fly over people's heads. Basically, they're being too blinded by this whole devil thing to really see tarot cards for the useful tool that they are in helping you and helping others, or helping you help others kind of figure out problems in your life, and giving you like a good idea of like what's going on in an instant. It's like a snapshot of kind of the energies that are surrounding you, and sometimes knowing the energies that are surrounding you can help you make a decision. But it's not like tarot is a self-fulfilling prophecy, like just, or like tarot somehow like locks in what is going to happen. It's just a snapshot in time. This is what's going on. Here's what it is. I will also say, even for people who are like summoning otherworldly attention, it's hard. It's a lot of work. You're not gonna accidentally do it. You can't accidentally summon a demon. Okay? It takes a lot of energy and intent. You can't stumble on it. It's not how that works. Alright, so the next one is tarot readers are psychic or magic, and you have to be psychic or magic to read tarot. My answer to this is going to kind of probably annoy some people, but everyone and everything is as magical or mundane as you want it to be. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you are strong and confident in your magic and you believe in your magic, you are magic. But on the other hand, if you believe that you are mundane, you are mundane. So it's all a matter of focusing like the energy and the intent behind it. And I will say that reading tarot is a skill, and you have to, but like also like reading a chart like in math class is a skill. Reading an x-ray is a skill. Everything is skills, and like the information you get depends on Jackson. Thank you for not sitting on my yarn. And you know, kind of the meaning and stuff that you get from tarot is dependent on your skill and your ability. But that doesn't really have anything to do with being magic or not, or mystical or not. And I did see a lot of these have to do with like tarot working or not working. To which I'm gonna ask a question, like, what is your definition of work? Like, when you say a tarot card works or doesn't work, what does that mean to you? Or does that mean what the tarot deck is telling you is not immediately clear? Does that mean you don't understand? Does that mean the tarot deck like spontaneously bursts into flames? I really want to know. Like, what does a non-working tarot deck mean? Because all my tarot decks work perfectly fine. I don't consider myself psychic. I do consider myself magical. But, you know, I've also read for people who don't consider themselves magical, and the tarot works just fine. It works the same. So, what are we doing? Myth number 3. Oh, I mean, I kind of already answered this, but tarot predicts the future, and you can't change it. First of all, it's bullshit. Like, you can always, your fate or destiny is not set in stone. You can always change it. But Ben and Bill Wynn in Holistic Tarot puts it really nicely, which is, this book right here, Holistic Tarot by Ben and Bill Wynn. It is a masterclass in tarot. Really, this is, okay, so if this is Tarot 101, this is Tarot, like, 401, right? Freshman level, senior level. How we got it. Both very important. So she puts it really nicely, and she writes, tarot's used to help you make sense of you and you. It tells you what the most likely outcome is based on your current actions and attitudes. It does not foretell your destiny, but it rather points out your strengths and weaknesses. And this is also how I look at tarot when I say it as like a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time of your thoughts, energies, and emotions. And this is also why having a tarot journal of some description is so important, because you can do one reading at one phase of your life. As I read this stitch like 5 times. Okay, yarn over through the hole, through this, yarn over through the hole. Okay. Anyway, you can see one card at one point of your life and have a very different meaning towards it than when you are in a different phase of your life. So being able to like go back and see how you have like changed and grown as a person in your tarot journey is very important. Even if that tarot journal is like on the internet or in Excel or whatever, it's very helpful to be able to like record and go back. Okay, next myth. The death card is the worst card ever. It means you will literally die. First of all, no, it does not mean that. It does not mean you will literally die. Also, to put it bluntly, you are going to die. You're not a vampire. You will die at some point. But it's not like you get the death card, you're going to step outside your house and get hit by a car, which is the vibe that most people are thinking. The death card is more cycles and change and kind of a gradual ending to things. And I do have meditations on the tarot, which is an interesting book. It's basically this woman writing letters to her friend about the different tarot cards, and she writes about every single card. Okay, but she puts it like this. The context of the card, death, is that the threefold manifestation of the principle of subtraction by way of forgetting, sleep, and death. We have here the black soil, the blue and yellow tufts of grass, and also the skeleton mowing. The card contains a fourth element, represented on the card by the human heads and hands and one foot, to which we shall return later. The 13th arcanum of the tarot is therefore that of the principle of substitution or death, and is the opposite of the principle of addition or life. It is necessary to subtract the self from the astral body, the etheric body, and the physical body in order to understand the mechanism of forgetting. It is necessary to subtract the self and the astral body from the etheric body and the physical body in order to obtain the state of sleep. And it is necessary to subtract the self, the astral body, and etheric body from the physical body in order to obtain the corpse, i.e., the fact of death. So the death card is all these things. It is forgetting, it is sleep, it is subtraction, it is the ending of a cycle, it is the conclusion, it is wrapping stuff up, it's leaving, it's taking away old stuff to leave room for new stuff. It's a very beautiful card, and it's very misunderstood, and it's a card that's meant with a lot of fear. And then Benabel, well, when she talks about the death card, she asks you to confront why you are afraid of it, and to really kind of dig into that fear and face your fears and grapple with it. Because, death is a part of life. You will die. I will die. The cat will die. Everyone will die. And it's how you deal with it and how you deal with these themes in your life. It's important, and that's kind of the good part of tarot. Next part. Reversed cards are always bad. So first of all, I will say not everyone reads with reversals. I know Kelly Fitzgerald from The Truth and Story. I used to watch her a lot, not so much now. She said that she felt that the tarot cards were complete in all their meanings, and she didn't need to read with reversals because she could get everything she needed from the reading in the card with it in the upright orientation. Great for her. I don't like to read that way. I prefer the method, some of the methods that are in Learning Tarot Reversals. This is by Joan Bunning. It's a really handy book, and she talks about it in a lot of ways, but basically She says that the tarot cards are energy, everything's energy, and energy moves through. And so when you have a reversed card, it's basically, it can be the energy is stuck, or it's like blocked, or it is also like incomplete and it's not there yet, or it's like fading off. So if you think of like a wave, like a sine wave, a cosine, a sine wave that goes up and then down. The high point is like your normal, your upright card, and then everything kind of coming up to it or on the other side of it are your reversals. And sometimes it means that energy is like stuck somewhere. So that's a very woo-woo way of looking at it, but that is the way that I read reversed cards, is that there's something that is blocked or not finished with that type of energy in the card. And she has other ways that you can look at it in the book. But that is the way that's always made the most sense for me and the way that I tend to approach it. Okay, so next myth is that tarot is a religion. So first of all, religion, and I did take a religious studies course through my time getting a degree, but religion is very hard to define what it is. Like, what makes a religion, and scholars have honestly debated what makes a religion for years and years and years. But in my mind, the NFL is more religion than tarot. Like, the NFL, it meets certain days, certain times, a certain place. It has people that are pouring a lot of energy into it, both the spectators and the people who are playing. It has rules and guidelines that you can break and you're penalized for breaking. It has rewards and outcomes. That kind of defines a religion in a lot of ways. And tarot is not that. Tarot is something you can add to pretty much any religion. It's a way to connect with yourself. It's a way to connect with the weird, or the like outer world, or the universe, like whatever you want to call it. It's a way to even manifest things and to work with that energy and to, like, honestly sometimes manipulate energy as well if you're using tarot for a spell. But in no way is that a religion, and no one who reads tarot is going to read tarot in the same way or tell you how to read tarot in the same way, which is why I have a whole bookshelf full of books about tarot. It's why I watch tarot videos. It's why I make tarot videos, because I honestly learn a lot by making these videos and researching them and really diving it deep into certain topics. Which reminds me, if there's any topic on tarot you want to see in one of these, like, crochet and chat, or knit and chat, whatever I'm doing, whatever project I'm doing and chat situations, just let me know, and I will be sure to add it to my ever-growing list and, like, research it and figure out a way to do it. Okay. You can't read for yourself. First of all, I, like, only read for myself, and I think it is fabulous because it is a personal thing for me. It helps me. It's a good old me time. Helps me connect with myself and kind of work through problems and see what's going on in my life. It's a way for me to connect with other people. I find it a lot harder to read for other people and to connect with other people in the same energetic sense. That's a me problem. But, yeah, that's why I only read for myself. And then Mary Kay Greer actually has a really book called Tarot for Yourself. And I also think that even if you want to read for other people, you do have to learn how to read for yourself as well. You know, just to kind of get the feeling of it. You don't have to do it all the time, but it is a good practice to get into to kind of know what you're looking at on the clearance side. And especially when you're learning, you're going to have yourself with you all the time, so you can read whenever you want. You don't have to wait for someone else. Although I will say I have done tarot readings for my cat and my dog when he was alive, which is kind of fun. But they didn't sit still very well for that. But that's fine. Okay, don't buy used tarot deck. And you have to be given your first tarot deck before you can learn. Those are just nonsense. Those are gatekeeping nonsense. Those are ways that people will spout out to either to like stop themselves or to stop other people from learning tarot. So don't pay attention to that. I have a used tarot deck for my late aunt. It works just fine. Hasn't spontaneously combusted yet. You can honestly, buying cards used is a great way to be a little bit more thrifty with your tarot deck. Like, you don't need a large collection like I have, or an expensive collection like I have. You can get tarot decks anywhere, used bookstore. The only thing I will say is make sure whatever tarot deck you're using does have all of the core 78 cards to work with at first. And then after that, you can add and subtract cards. But especially like me, when I'm working with a new deck, if it has a bunch of bonus cards, I take those bonus cards out and work with just the core 78 cards until I get a feel for it, and then I add in those bonus cards, which are a lot of fun. But they're not necessary, they're extra. Okay, and now we have another one about tarot cards working. And this is, you must cleanse your tarot decks or they won't work. So I think cleansing tarot decks is a personal preference thing. Everyone has different ways that they do it. I honestly never cleanse my tarot decks at all. I don't put crystals on them. They sit in a bookshelf. I dust the bookshelf. That's my cleansing. I dust the bookshelf. But there are some ways that you can do it if you want, especially if you have a deck that you're working with for a while or you've done some hard work with. You might want to consider one of these options, just in order for you to make a psychological break from the deck. So the first thing is just reordering your deck. Shuffle it real well, and then just sit there and reorder it into... I usually do majors, so Fool Through the World, and then I do swords, wands, cups, pentacles, I'm pretty sure. Honestly, the order of the minors doesn't really matter all that much, as long as the minors are in order from ace to king, and then I stack them all up, and that's kind of like my reordering the deck. The other thing you can do is washing. This does take a lot of space, so I tend to do it on the floor, or so I'll spread a tablecloth out on the floor to do this, or a large table, and you take the deck and you put all the cards out, and then you do this motion with the cards. And it's called washing because that's the motion. You're washing the cards and you're mixing them up. And you're mixing them up really well by spreading them all out and then bringing them back together. And that is one of the most thorough shuffles you'll get in your life is washing. And energetically speaking, by doing this, by spreading it all out and scattering it and washing it and bringing it back together, you are symbolically and energy-wise releasing everything that's in the deck and then putting it back together in its original state. So there's that. And then everything else, smudging, if smudging is part of your practice, if it's not, don't do it. You would know if it's part of your practice, or using incense or whatever, that's personal preference stuff. I will say I do like to burn incense when I'm reading tarot, just because it sets the mood and the vibe. If I'm reading with the intention of working with a deity, I do always light incense and have an offering, because that's part of my deity work. But that's more related to the deity and the deity work, and not related to the tarot. They're different things. Next myth. You can't read for money, or reading for money will make the tarot not work. Which again, I don't understand what people are saying when they say things won't work. Or everyone who reads for money is scamming you. Okay, so first of all, there are horrible people out there. Scammers gonna scam. And you really can't avoid that. Um, with that, you kind of go with your gut, look at reviews, stuff like that. Usually, if you are getting a tarot reading in a metaphysical shop, they're going to be pretty upfront about it. And they're not scamming you. And at the end of the day, if you're paying someone for a reading, you're paying for their time. That's what you're really paying for. They're giving you their time and their energy and their effort, and that's what you're paying for. And the tarot reading just happens, right? I don't think there's anything wrong for reading for money. I think people who shame people who read for money are bullshit. There are tons of ethical readers out there. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Etsy, even though that's a terrible platform. You can find them all over the place. I used to have an Etsy shop where I sold tarot readings for money. I don't anymore. Just because I have too many hobbies, so I have no time to do that and like dedicate that energy to it. And it is a lot of work. I did find it exhausting. But there are people out there. Okay, so the next thing is no one but the reader can touch the cards. So some of this is personal preference, some of this is just like common sense. The personal preference part is some people who read tarot will have either you shuffle the deck, that's typically what I do, or they will shuffle the deck themselves, or a combination. That's kind of like the reader style and preference and training. But also, that being said, like, don't go and like go grabbing people's cards and flipping through them. Like, that's rude. It's not yours. A lot of time cards are personal. Like, they have a lot of personal meaning, or they're expensive, or they're fragile. So don't go fucking up people's shit, basically. And that's just like a personal. That's not just even personal preference. It's like common sense. Like, don't be fucking rude. Okay, tarot cards are from Egypt, Atlantis, some other crazy place. No. And I have talked about this before. Benba Wen, in her brief section of tarot, in her book, Holistic Tarot, page 8, she does talk about how playing cards in general came from the Tang Dynasty and moved through the Silk Road into Europe. And she does say that people may have been using tarot for divination before the 14th century, when we have it recorded. But the reason why we don't have like records of it is because it was illegal. I would challenge that. Excuse me. And here's why I'm going to challenge it. Usually when something is illegal and people are doing it anyway, we have records of it in court documents and settlements. But we also have record of it with clergy, especially in the 1400s, with clergymen like talking about things that their congregation is doing when they're not supposed to be doing it. I read a lot about this in just recently. What book was that? Oh yeah, in the Dead of Winter by Sarah Clegg. She has a lot of sources that are conversations from clergymen about different practices, and basically saying like people are doing this shit and it's fucked up, and please stop. So I think if reading tarot as we know today, like reading cards, was more common, we would have some clergymen somewhere talking about it. That's my only thing about that. My other thought is that, I mean, people have been using divination reading, like divination practices forever, but it could also be that people who were using, like bones or runes or other systems like that kind of adopted tarot because it was easy to, like, once you got a hold of a deck, it was easy to get it. It might have been easier in some points to get a hold of a paper deck of cards than to get a hold of a set of bones or whatever for different divinatory practices. Okay. 2 more myths. Tarot is a closed practice. So a closed practice is a practice that you have to be initiated into in order to participate in. And there's good reasons for there to be closed practices. That being said, tarot is not a closed practice. It is very much an open practice. It is for everyone. Everyone can do it. Everyone can interact with tarot in a way that they want to and use it in order to enrich their lives. Again, I'm obviously a champion of reading tarot, and I do recommend it for everyone to do. I think it's great. And I do think it adds a lot of value to my life, and I've seen it add value to other people's lives as well. Though I will say I'm also, like, constantly buying tarot decks for my friends. I'm a little tarot gremlin in that way, but I just like tarot decks. And the art of it all. The last one is there's only one way. There's only one way, or there's only, like, a right way to read tarot. Which, that is absolutely ridiculous, as we can see by, like, my stack of books that I have. My bookshelf full of books, full of tarot books, and different ways to read tarot, different systems. And the other thing is there are, like, different systems in the school of thought, and you don't have to read tarot the same way every time. Like, when I read a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, I'm probably going to read it more in the Rider-Waite style than if I'm using a Marseille deck. And then I'm going to do it more in the Marseille style. So there's different styles and, like, options, but there's no one way to do, like, anything ever. And anyone who tells you there's one way to do something is either trying to sell you, like, their way to do it, or is just wrong, and you should not listen to them. I will say that group of myths I came up with is the most, it's like those are the ones, or like variations on those are the ones I've heard the most, either online or kind of talking about it with people. I do think we're seeing a lot more education and more of these myths written about in books or on blogs, or, you know, video casts like this where people are talking about, like, not only how they work with tarot, but, like, differences in the different systems, different ways to do it, and different myths that people, or misconceptions that people may or may not have about the practice. Which is good. Having more information is always going to be a good thing about it. That being said, if you have a question about tarot or something you've heard about it that I did not mention, because I've not heard everything in the world, obviously, then I would be happy to answer it, either in a message to you, or if I get enough, like, wild ones, maybe eventually doing, like, a tarot myths part 2. Now for kind of admin stuff, as we like to wrap up with. So next week, which will already be February, which is like Looney Tunes to me that we're already in February. So today, as this is going up, is the 29th. So the next post from me is going to be a podcast on February 5th, and that's going to be updating on all the projects that I've been working on, and also some of like the books that I read very quickly in January. And then the next one after that, which is going to go live on the 12th, I'm pretty sure I'm settled on like patterns to wear, or patterns for when you want to disappear into the woods. That's the working title. So that'll be the next like knit and chat that I do. It'll also be my first pattern like roundup that I've done on this channel, so that'll be new and exciting and probably require more editing from me. This one's probably not going to require too much editing because I just like sat here and rambled. But hopefully you found this interesting or entertaining, or at the very least got some knitting or crocheting or sewing or whatever done alongside me. And I will see you next time. Bye.